What's up, guys? Street Riders 209 here. So the day is finally here. I got my welder set up, welding 220 through my side carport. That means this rack has to come off. Today we are going to be modifying this. I'm going to show you guys mostly how to do this using all the parts that are on here. So in a minute, me and my friend are going to go mark off exactly where we're going to cut. We're going to use existing angles from back there for the front. We're going to use existing angles from these rear legs for the back end of the brace right here. We will be using all that same material from the back over here to wrap around the front on the top of the cargo holder. We'll be trimming that back a few inches and ultimately trying to get 80% as minimum of 80% material from this rack. Then I will be loading up my ATV, and I'm gonna modify accordingly so I can, just like I mentioned earlier on one of my other videos, just so I can just ride it in there, lock it in place, and not even worry about strapping it down. One thing to mention that I forgot was I will be sending these covers on the side right here, so I'm going to leave these empty because I'm thinking of having my logo ripped out like a CNC shop. And then either way, I think that this video is going to end up being part of possibly a 2 or 3 part series. So this will be the beginning one. We'll see as much as we can get today, as my help is only here for a limited time. But what we're going to do is first mark this off. We're going to make almost every cut, and then we're going to tack pretty much the whole thing together. Then we're going to show you guys what we did and go from there. Alright guys, so we took the rack down from the truck. I've gone ahead and marked with a tape where my cuts are going to be. So it's 2 inches right here. So I got this 90 elbow that I'm going to weld to that, which then in case will send the pipe out that way, or the tube out that way, onto the other leg, which will be this one, but cut up. We went ahead and marked where I want the tube to start, going up at an angle. We ended up coming up with 6 inches from here to here to where the tube goes. So then I set the tube in right where we want that to be, right there where the tape's at. Brought it down just a hair, and then I ultimately figured that the cut needs to be right here because I got to compensate the distance of the angle right here. So that's where we're going to make our other cut. As far as the top, we're going to end up as of right now just cutting off this right here. I'll eventually notch this and use this piece in that direction. For the front, we're going to knock it down 5 3/4 almost, I think is what it was. So this will be one cut and another cut. This will weld back up to here. This will be non-existent. And the reason why I did that is because upon putting this right at that edge right there on the side, it will let this light bar basically right above my other light bar, so they'll match up. I think it's off just a hair, but that's fine. Once we do that, if I need to go plus or minus, I can always add to here, but I got to double check this to make sure 100% before I cut. What we're gonna do is go ahead and do only this one side. That way at the same time we don't have to juggle with all that material just sagging on the sides. That way you guys can actually see the difference of the before and the after. So we'll start cutting right now. Alright guys, so we did our first couple of cuts. We took off the front. One thing to always remember, should have mentioned this earlier, make sure you always cut this on the area that the bend already left. Like the bend for this radius right here ends right around here. You don't ever want to cut further than that, because then you'll never be able to weld this back onto a straight tube and get the same dimensions that it originally had. So you got to make sure you always cut past that bend. Also, this is gone since this piece is not going to be used. The piece that I'm going to use for up here, that goes up here this way and then curves around similar to that, is going to be my rear piece right here. So I'm going to cut it right around here, right in the center. Hold this right here, retain that. So I'm going to add that up here. So it'll have a curved front with a squared back. And the only reason why I'm doing this is just so that like I said, I'm going to try to keep it as much as I can with using the materials that I have on hand. So now that I have that cut, let me show you guys using one of those elbows. So I'll be able to weld this like that. Clean this up a little bit so I get a straighter. There's a couple little tacks right there, but tack that up right there. Cut that at my right angle on the bottom, aiming in that direction. So that'll end up like that. For the rear, this is what I'm going to have right here. Weld this facing the front onto that back leg, and then eventually I'll put a couple little braces in the center also, just to retain the strength on this bar. But then I want it to be able to strap stuff down, you know, like a lot of the Nerf style bars that are on the trucks already, but you know, on the Chase style rack. Alright, so now my next step, I can actually start welding this up right here, tacking this up. It will help with the measuring. So I'll probably do that. I'm going to clean this little area up right here, and then remark it so I can start tacking on there. I'm going to cut this leg just at the right area that I need, or that I want. I'm going to test fit it as is. If that seems like it looks okay, then I'll just use that. But then I got to cut it right around here somewhere, so it ends up like this. And also, one thing to, don't weld this down at a 90. This has to be angled like that to matches that leg like this. So let me do that real quick. Cut this up. I'll probably start, no, I'll do this side first, and then we'll go from there. I'll tack that up right where when you want to put that back on, make sure you always double check your well, in my case, only because I already have a light bar on my truck, and I want them, like I mentioned, I want them next to each other, top to bottom. If you don't have that, then this is not an issue. You probably wouldn't even have to do that, honestly, unless you want a smaller cargo area. If you want a smaller cargo area, then you have to cut that and, you know, bring it in as wide as you want it. I want a big area, because sometimes we'll load, you know, a couple of riding bags full of gear, as well as a cooler every once in a while with some drinks. And when I bring 4 friends, we have no space inside the truck for any of that. And then with the ATV in the back, it's the same thing. So I'm not sure if I'm going to end up making my fuel tank holders up here, or I might just end up doing them to the inside of the rack right here once it's all put together. But we'll build it as we go. Alright guys, so we tack this piece back up in the front. Always make sure you check the level as well as eyeball. Want to make sure this is pretty straight. I tack this piece in here. Tack my piece in here. I cut this piece off from that leg right there. So this leg right here So we're gonna give me this. Ultimately, it was gonna give me the same angle as in the front, but lower, which is still fine. So right there, that's what I want. So all I got to do is just cut this off right here, somewhere in the middle, and I'm ultimately gonna just extend it to match up to this side right here. So once we have this in place, that's what's left from the top piece. I'm gonna maintain this in the center. And I'm gonna cut it right there to where it meets up to that pipe, and then cut it in the front where it meets to that first leg. And that's it. Alright guys, so this is what we got so far. We ended up changing the style on this a little bit. After seeing it before I cut it up, I realized that I was gonna like it better the other way. Also, my co-worker friend kind of gave me his input, and he thought it was a better way to do this. So we ran that pipe straight across. I'm gonna weld it to here. Then we just started off this contour from here. So now what we're gonna do is I cut this piece off of the back. This piece right here is the top tube of that, cut right here that way. So I'm gonna set this in. I left this one on here on purpose because I'm gonna set this on top like that. I'm gonna bring this up just like that, 3 inches. The other side will have the other piece like this. I'm gonna use the remaining piece, which is like from this one, finish off the front, and then the back one to finish off the back. The reason why I got the extra pipe back there is so I could put another bar across here, possibly 2, depends, because I got the 3/4 flat expanded metal. That's going to be my bottom floor for the luggage and all the cargo. So I'll be doing that. I'm probably not going to get to that today. Probably one of the part 2 or part 3 of this video, or of this project. Got some pizza arriving shortly, so we're probably gonna take a break. But I wanted to show you guys this area right here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a piece of either aluminum. I'm not sure if I want aluminum diamond plate or just like a 12 gauge steel. Roll it out to the side, punch some holes, but I want to have my logo CNC machined into the center, and then I'll rivet that on here, so that I can actually have this powder coated beforehand. Like I said, I wanted to leave this around the whole rack, mostly so I could tie stuff down. Maybe one day I gotta move furniture or anything, I can still hook around that tube and then strap anything down. Now you guys, I don't know if you guys will see what I was talking about. This little area right here, I didn't want it too big because I don't like the way they look on the other trucks. I've seen some with like a, I don't know, up to 18-20 inches space. I know it's got a use, but I personally don't like it. So I'm gonna cut this off right here, and I'm gonna bring the pipe over that way. So I'm probably just gonna put like a gusset or some kind of a spider web detail right here. I'm not sure. I might just cap it off with an actual 45 or something. I'm not sure, but that'll be for a different or towards the end. As far as that, I'm gonna go ahead and finish off the whole right side, or left side, I'm sorry, and I'm gonna start tacking this whole piece up. Just wanted you guys to see this. You guys can actually do this already and leave it like that, and it looks clean, it looks sick. So this is using 100% so far of the sorry, not 100%. I did buy these pre-made corners, so probably 95%, these right here. And these I picked them up for I think $4 at the steel shop, so look for those. Those are the schedule 41.5s at 90. They didn't have any other angles at the time, so that's why I had to recut this. You can kind of see that how the angle is a little bit off, but once I weld this up and then seal it, it'll be hard to tell. It's not a big deal, especially since I'm going to cover this up. So yeah, let me get to cutting this other side. It should be a lot faster now that I've explained to you guys the process of this. I will also be tacking up the braces for my aux beam 52-inch light bar, and then we'll go from there. Alright guys, before I cut the last piece off, we decided to muscle it up and load this sucker up here. Just want to show you guys the difference between your stock rack, which is on that side, and the modified rack, which is on this side. Obviously, as you guys could tell, it's shorter up here than it was. It might give me a little bit of wind noise, but then again, I'm already used to it because of that light bar, so having 2 light bars on there, it's not going to be a big deal. Another thing I'm noticing, judging by the way that sat, I might have to modify those brackets a little bit, because I made them to drop. So instead, I think I'm going to have to flip them so it lifts the light bar up, and then it sets it directly above that one. It's gonna look a little bit odd also because this is a curved one, the other one's straight, but I don't care. I could take off this whole unit or just take off this rack and then leave the truck without a light bar. Let's see. That might be all right. Or like that. I don't really care. At the end of the day, whatever looks best. So yeah, let's do a little bit of close-up right here. You guys can see what that looks like. Like I said, I don't have any fancy pipe bender. I don't have any notchers. I'm just using a regular old cutoff wheel grinder. You know, so a lot of this stuff, these small gaps right here, I could fill those up with welding anyways, and then sand it down perfectly smooth. You would never know. So yeah, I mean, once the top, I weld the top on there, obviously it's going to be more sealed. You'll see a lot more going on up there. But as of right now, I love this right here. That was my main focus. I didn't want to make it look too goofy. Obviously, any rack that you put on there usually does not look normal because you're used to a plain truck. But I'm happy with that angle. I'm happy with the way it's looking. So I appreciate it to my homeboy, which is over here trying to hide from the camera, because it was more his idea to do that. He kind of stumbled on it by not knowing what I was trying to do, but I like that better. Aside from that, that's pretty much it. Like I was mentioning, ATV is going to roll up in here. I'm thinking about putting the pipe right here so that I drop that rear piece that usually goes on the back end of the racks and locks the ATV in place. So I'm happy with it. So let me go ahead and finish that up on that side. I'll bring it back up here and we'll start welding as soon as we figure out if we like it 100%. Alright guys, so it's 5:30. We taking away our 30-minute break that we did for pizza. We've only been at this about 4 hours since we started this around 1 o'clock. This is what we have. We pretty much got the whole rack. Well, oh, good job. I'm guessing this guy watches a lot of Dude Awesome. Alright, let me show you guys. It looks a little bit funky on the GoPro as I'm looking at it because it looks too short on the back, but you guys saw how it looks. So all I gotta do tomorrow is finish off my top from here. As far as the back, it's all good. I just gotta weld. Obviously I'm gonna weld. I did a couple of like 1-inch welds on this stuff just to make sure that when we move it around it doesn't doesn't come apart. But that's it. We're gonna test fit it right now before he heads home. That way he can help me take it back down. So yeah, guys, this will be part 1. Actually, I'll finish off part 1 tomorrow. I'll do a little bit more things to it. Then part 2 will more likely have the finished rack with all the little details. If I could squeeze in the powder coating on the part 2, then you know, that'll be that. But if not, then that will be the part 3, is the finished product and the installation of the rack. So far into this project, not counting my consumables, because I've ate through about 2.5 cutting wheels and a little bit of welding wire, I'm only in this about $110. So, you know, as I was explaining to my buddy just earlier, that something like this you can't touch online or custom made for anywhere around $1,500 to $2,500 plus. So yeah, keep tuned. Alright guys, so here we have it. Both sides are done. Right now what I'm going to do is start putting up the 1-inch tube with the curve on the end for the top. So I'll get to that right now. I'm also going to be tacking in some gussets right here for tie downs. I'll show you guys what I have, as well as adding some pieces here, some back here. So like this, for instance, is what I'm going to use. Cut these out of just some flat bar, drilled out, and plasma cut the holes. Drilled these out for, these are going to be for a shovel holder, and these are going to be for the high lift. So those will end up going on the sides and on that side. So just a few little gaps here and there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to assemble most of the rack that I can possibly without starting to weld. So I'm mainly just doing some stitch welding here and there to keep everything in shape. We test fitted the rack already, everything's good. So we're gonna go for it. We're gonna also put my little mounts right here for my 20-inch light bar that's gonna shine this way. And then I also made some extra little brackets because I want to put a light bar, a little light pod possibly right here. Not 100% sure where though, but we'll go. That's the thing about a custom build, is that you know, you kind of work as you go, build as you go, and change things like that as you go. So let's get started with that. Alright guys, so I just got done kind of setting that up on top. I ended up using some flat bar just to hold this up. So I'll probably use another one of these for the center here. And then I'm not going to worry about this area right here, because this is where I'm going to put, let me show you. So I made these using flat bar also. These are going to be mounts for the high jack, or the high lift jack. They're going to go welded in just like that. See, so then you bolt it up into here. So I have 2 of these like that. And then on the other side, I'm going to have the clamps for the shovel. And that's these right here that I also made using some flat bar. So imagine this right here. But I'm going to do it on that side, not on this side. I'm going to weld these up like that. And then I'm going to drill a hole through the bottom so I can, you know, clamp down, up, let go, and then I can loosen up the shovel. So I'm going to leave that alone for now. So what I did here, I notched these at a 45, as you guys can see. That way when I weld this back in, that's how it's going to look. It's going to save me some time on capping it off if I would have cut it straight. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to finish off this piece. Then I am going to bring the expanded metal and start measuring to cut the expanded metal. And also I did, like I mentioned earlier, I bought one of those extra pipes of the 1.5 schedule 40. Probably gonna end up putting it across like this, just for extra reinforcement in the center. Alright guys, so this is what I've done. Cornered these out to a 45, welded them in place. I think it looks pretty good, especially once I put that corner gusset right here. Cut some of that pipe for the center. Just gotta weld that in place. So that's roughly about 30 inches up top. That should be okay. I could put another crossbar across the front, but I'm not gonna do that just because of the weight. You know, it's already front heavy. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep as less material as I can off of it. So with the expanded metal, I think it'll be more than fine. If I come to find out later that without that beam, it like the expanded metal shakes a lot once you're driving, then I'll take it back off and then I'll add to the center. But so this is what I've done to these. Welded those in place. They're all welded on the inside. The back I still got to do. Also, since it's already getting dark, I might just go ahead and start welding the whole thing up, since it's just kind of the setup that I wanted. I'm gonna go ahead and probably weld these brackets on also for the light bar. So let me get started and welding all this up, and we'll pick back up. Alright guys, so this is what I have so far. So you guys could tell the rack's pretty much put together. I just tacked up the expanded metal up there. This is a 3/4 number 9 with the flat surface, not the one that goes up and down. I'll show you guys what I did right here. So this is what I did. I used some 3/8 flat bar. The reason why I went with 3/8 was instead of 1/4 inch was if you guys look at it down this way, in order for it to get a straight like clearance all the way down, it has to be thicker than 1/4 inch. So 3/8 with a slight angle, I was able to weld it straight down, just because I want this flat. I don't want any hiccups, nothing grabbing on here when I'm taking the shovel down. So what I'm going to be doing with this is, obviously I'm going to be it's a little bit tight right now, but I'm going to force it up and down so it softens up a little bit. But then I'm going to be putting a spring right here with I'm going to weld. I'm thinking I'm just going to use a long bolt, drill all the way through here, all the way out here, and then just put probably like a lock nut on this side. I'm not sure, but my original plan was, and that's probably what I'm going to end up doing, is just drill out like a 1/2 inch hole right here, put in a 3/8 bolt, and then grind off the nut a little bit, recess the 3/8 nut inside there, weld it shut. That way you basically have the nut welded on the inside of this tube, and then just weld the handle to the bolt so you can tighten it and loosen it, and then this will go in and down. So one thing I'm going to put in here is some of that trailer weather stripping, just to keep the handle nice and gripped, and also so it doesn't damage it from touching up against the steel. So I did 2 of those. I'm gonna get a 48-inch shovel. Yeah, it's gonna end somewhere around here to about here. So, those should be more than enough. Let me see. Also did this right here. Finished off these corners. Put a hole right here. Also looks kind of cool, but also so I could use this as hooks, to strap down stuff. What else? I'm pretty happy with it, the way it's coming out. It's really front heavy. So eventually what I'm going to have to do is, once this is bolted down to the bed, I'm going to have to make a brace that bolts up or welds up from here probably bolts. That bolts up from here down to the bottom of the bed, and then eventually down to the frame, just so that this area is nice and strong. And whenever I load it up there, you won't get that constant pull on this with the weight. You know, it'll eventually tear out a bolt out of that bed. I've seen it happen on lumber racks. So that's what I'm going to be doing eventually. As far as this goes, I'm going to finish off the other side with that also. This is done on both sides. I ordered the high lift jack already. It's a 48-inch one also, so it should take up most of the space just like the shovel. And I will be knocking these out, this one and that one. This will end up welding like that. These right here, something similar that bolts that the high lift jack, run about $40 to $60 on Amazon. But since I got steel, might as well make my own. So judging by what I saw, this runs about an inch. If it's thinner, then I'll just grind that down a little bit. But the reason why is because it's kind of like a channel type material on that lift, on that jack. So this is supposed to set inside a little bit. So once I have it, I'm gonna drill a hole, probably 3/8. I'm gonna end up doing the same thing as that side with the handle, and then the nut will just weld outside on this side. So 2 of these, and the reason why I'm not gonna put these on yet is because I don't want to set these in, and since the holes on the jack are already pre-punched, I can easily screw this up and then this won't bolt up. I'm just gonna leave these off for now, so that'll stay there. This will come off, like I said. I'm gonna end up putting probably a piece of pipe or a piece of flat bar. I'm not sure. Just stuff it there in the front. As far as that, I gotta still add my my light bar brackets over there, and light bar brackets right here, as I'm gonna put a 20-inch light bar from ox beam also, face it down. And this one actually has all the colors and all that stuff. So let me get to welding the rest of these pieces on there, and then we'll pick it up. Alright guys, so I think this is going to conclude the first part. As you guys can see, the rack's already pretty much done. Just got a few adjustments to do to it. That's how it looks. Still gonna I'm gonna end up putting a 50-inch curved light bar up here. I changed my mind on the 52 straight. Put some hooks right here so I can be able to tie stuff down on the opposite side. The whole bed also once I'm done with this rack and it's back from the powder coating shop. I'll show you guys up here. That's plenty of area, plenty of space for cargo, a couple bags when we go riding, helmets and all that stuff up there. We'll put one more rod right there, one right here, just for extra support. One thing I forgot to mention though, I still gotta modify the case right here for the gas can. I'll have a 20-inch light bar right here, and then on the driver's side right here is for the jack, which I just got today. Wasn't expecting it until tomorrow, but so as you guys can see, this is how my brackets are gonna work. I'm gonna drill that out to a half inch hole. I put a nut behind it, weld it in place, and I'll be able to crank this down and lock it in place. So this is gonna be welded against that rack on one side, and then the back one right there also. And I'm gonna put this towards the back because this is heavier, so I want as much weight on this corner than on that corner, you know. So I want to have the heaviest part here, just because this is a lot more reinforced. And with time, not to say that it's going to happen, but with time, if you leave heavier stuff on this side, it can start coming down on the cab. So I'm going to end up just got to weld underneath all these little spots, weld on that side. So yeah, I'll get to it this weekend. So far as is, I'm in it about, I want to say pushing 10 hours, so about 9 hours, 9.5 hours worth of work. I probably still have another 5 hours before it's completely the way I want it, and not including the jack. I'm in it $100 for the rack. I think it was $16 for the hooks. It was like 50 something dollars for the expanded metal, but that's a 4x8, so you still have a little bit left over. And that's pretty much it. Everything else, I mean, a few little additions like this flat bar. I have a 10-footer which I notched down and then I cut my own pieces. But I mean, ultimately those are literally this is probably a foot in between these and those up there. There's probably about 15 inches on each side, so about 30 inches. So you'd be looking probably around $6. But then again, you can always leave it plain without any of that, so you don't have to invest that extra money. You could either, from this step, you could either leave it alone and paint it and you're set, but you know, I'm still gonna I'm gonna cover this up, thinking of having my logo burnt out right here with a CNC machine. Probably gonna put a pod right here, a little 3x4 pod, and I'm still thinking about putting the pods on the side and the front, towards one to the left and one to the right. So I think as this concludes part 1. On part 2, I will show where it is completely done. I'm gonna drop it off at the powder coating shop, and then, you know, get it back, reassemble it, because I have to disassemble those pieces. I want those removable, and then it's ready to go. So thank you guys for watching. Keep tuned for the next episode of this rack build, which hopefully, no promises, but hopefully will only be a 2-episode video rather than possibly 3, but I'm gonna try to get it in 2. So thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned.